Hello, welcome back to the channel, Boy with the Camera. My name is June, I'm a videographer of sorts, and today we're looking at the Fifine K052. Full disclaimer, this microphone was sent to me by Fifine for a review, but I will be honest, and yeah, let's get into the review. So starting with the box, we got a nice cardboard box, looks environmentally friendly and stuff, nice and subdued. If you open it up, there's a ton of styrofoam, so maybe it's not. You get the mic, has the cable built in, you get this nice little manual, and I guess that's all you really need, isn't it? Also should mention, it does come with this little windscreen thing. Doesn't really help too much with plosives. Better to have it than to not. That's it. On the unit, you'll see it's flexible at the top, at the bottom, so you can do some interesting placements. There's a very nice gain dial. Honestly, you don't even need to crank it that up. I have it set really low because any more than that and I start clipping, so that's nice. I guess it's for when you're farther away from the microphone, but obviously to get the most quality out of your microphone, closer is better. It's got a nice mute button. Now the light is green, and you can probably hear me. Very nice feature to have when you're on a call. Next, let's go over some of the relevant specs to us. I myself am not an audio engineer or an expert in audio, so I'm just gonna read the ones that I understand and apply to me. These are the only things that you really need to know if you're at this kind of beginner intermediate stage. So the model is K052, it's a condenser microphone, it's USB obviously, the polar pattern is cardioid, and the sensitivity is -20, the frequency response is 50 Hz to 17 kHz, and the signal to noise ratio is more than 55 decibels. So for me, the main thing is the fact that it's cardioid, I think is the most useful to us, and basically a polar pattern is where the microphone picks up sound. If you look at a cardioid pattern, cardioid has some sort of linguistic connection to heart. So you can imagine the shape of a heart. This microphone will be good at rejecting off-axis noise or noise that is not within that pattern or that field or that heart shape. So a good way to illustrate this is right now it's picking up my voice pretty well. If I go slightly off-axis, it should still do a good job of that. However, when we begin to go 90 degrees or right beside it, it should, in theory, start to lose my voice. And finally, we come to the back of the microphone. As we turn the mic around, we should now begin to hear the effects of the polar pattern. And right here should be the cleanest sound. Let's say I'm on a Zoom call, my microphone is over here, keyboard's here, mouse is here. You'll probably hear inherently a lot more echo in this space now, even though the volume of my voice is the same. And that's just because of the distance, and because it's farther away from my mouth, it's picking up a lot of the other sounds in the room. And once we bring it back, it should now clean up fairly nicely and pick up far less background noise. And I guess right now is a good time to slip in this test. Is just how does this microphone perform when you are doing other things in the background? So let's say you are working on a document, a Google Doc with your team or somebody else on a project, and you have a loud keyboard like I do. I wonder how it does in terms of rejecting. Type a little bit more obnoxiously, and we're going to speak on top of that. It's surprisingly hard to type obnoxiously and speak at the same time. Maybe I should just write out what I am saying. Again, right there, the polar pattern should assist in not picking up that noise. Now, because of the polar pattern, if your keyboard is in front of your microphone like this, then it will probably fare worse and pick up a lot of that sound. You'll notice probably a lot of this type of thing. That's just one of the cons of having a microphone on your desk versus having something on a boom arm like this. But again, that's a lot more money and a lot more setup than most of us really want to do when we're beginning to get into this audio space or podcasting space, that type of thing. It's so convenient to just move it around everywhere because it's so light, and sure, it has a cable, but it's still a lot easier to manage and work with compared to something else. So I've recorded a lot of tests with this microphone now, and I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of its sound characteristics. I think it does struggle a little bit with sibilance, which means the harsh S sound. So when I am using a lot of S's in my sentences, then it's going to accentuate that sis sound and perhaps make it a little bit piercing. Of course, that can be fixed in post-production. Speaking of post-production, and one more thing you might have to fix is self-noise. So the noise floor of a microphone is essentially any of that staticky sound, that's that sound that a microphone produces on its own. In this case, because it's a USB microphone, I think that's a little bit more common in this type of microphone. Could be mistaken, but we do have a little bit of noise from what I hear. And the final weakness of this microphone is that it struggles with plosives, and you might have heard that p sound right now, and it's just that expelling of air when you say bees or peas, or it could be k. It could be any sound, but a burst of air, and it kind of struggles with that. You'll hear a thump, which is just not nice to listen to. If you're a little farther away, it should fare better. Pa pa pa, poo poo poo. Farther away, pa pa pa, poo poo poo, pa 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 pa. You're not going to really deal with this issue, but then you deal with the issue of having a lot more background noise being captured. One tip to deal with this, though, is just angle your mouth away from the microphone, pa 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 pa, and most of the air should not be hitting it. Pooh! But all those cons aside, this sound quality has blown me away, and I did a comparison between this microphone, which is $60 on Amazon Canadian. This microphone is 400 USD or 550 Canadian plus tax. Once you factor in this
boom arm, this XLR cable, one more XLR cable, and a cloud lift in between, and the recorder that it feeds into,
you can easily reach $1,000, if not more. And sure, this microphone's a lot better, but if you listen to the comparison between the two, I think this one will really surprise you. And I was very shocked at how good the sound quality is. But that got me thinking, what if you compare it to other budget options out there? I think a commonly found one is this Zoom H1 field recorder. I think these can be found on the used market for like $100, if not less. But new, it is $150 plus tax. And the other one I want to compare it to are just Apple earbuds. And I'm coming at this with the mentality of somebody who wants to begin their own low budget podcast or solo podcast, just getting thoughts out into the world. I myself do that and I have a completely overpriced mic for that. So if I were to restart, where would I begin? Would I begin with just these simple earphones that I'm sure a lot of people have? Would I go out and buy a used one of these, or buy one that's new, or just pick up something simple like this? This is a $60 microphone. But on to the comparisons. I'm going to hand hold the Zoom H1. We have the Fifine K052, and we have these earphones recording into this iPhone. And I'm looking at the Fifine on Amazon, and I've noticed that the price has actually dropped to $41.99. You save $18 if you have a Prime membership. That is a phenomenal price. So it's by Fifine Technology. It is pronounced Fifine, even though it's F-I-F-I-N-E, which is interesting to me. A silent mute switch with LED indicator for clear indication of the computer microphone status. Okay. So I think that's enough for comparison between the three. Obviously, I haven't listened to the audio yet. I'm thinking that the Zoom H1 will probably be better, or the best. Earbuds are not going to be as good. But I remember the H1 being very good. The thing with the H1 is you're not going to hand hold it the whole time, are you? I guess technically with a podcast you could. So this could be a cheap alternative. Although this is still $42 right now on Amazon, and this is like $150 something. So you do the math, you can get quite a few of these for the price of one of these. So concluding thoughts, I think it's a wonderful microphone that goes without saying. And I think there's a point to be made that nowadays it's very easy to get into the creative space. Video used to be so much more inaccessible than it is today. Audio, now we have really good microphones for less than $100. This type of quality is good enough, I would say, to start a podcast or these types of YouTube talking head videos. I have to admit that I fell into that trap because I immediately invested into more expensive microphones right off the bat because I thought that's eventually what I would need to buy anyways. But honestly, in hindsight, I think I would have just started with something like this, and right now I'm even considering maybe selling my nicer microphone. Of course, I would sell at a loss, I'm not entirely sure about that, but it's giving me that type of feeling, which I think is a phenomenal thing. It's so much more accessible now to get high quality audio recordings and video recordings in 2020, and that's just a win all around, really, if you think about it. So if you have a podcast or something that you're itching to get off of your chest, or just a creative endeavor, I would highly recommend this Fifine K052. I think it's a wonderful place to start and a very good benchmark or standard to begin with in terms of your audio quality. Like I mentioned, there are a few cons with this microphone, but nowhere near deal breakers, and honestly it'll challenge you to work on your post-processing skills and learn equalization and learn compression and learn dynamics and all this stuff to improve the audio quality, because if this is your starting point and your baseline, then honestly that's a very great place to be, and you can easily make that sound very good. Alright, well that's it for this review. Thank you so much, Fifine Technology. I love your microphone. I'm very surprised by how much I like your microphone, to be quite honest. And if you are interested in purchasing one, of course, Amazon link down below. And if you have any future mic review suggestions, then please comment them down below as well, and I will try my best to get my hands on it so I can do a nice little review. Have a wonderful day. Be safe. Be healthy. Bye.